Hi, everybody. This is Danielle Isaac, Career Change Specialist. And today I have a special guest to share with you today, Pat Duckworth, and she's here to share about her experience of transitioning to a career that she absolutely loves. We're going to go through her story today, pulling out the nuggets, the golden nuggets that you can use in your own life if you know deep inside that this is something that you want to do, but you're not sure exactly what you want to do or even how to get started. So my hope is, and my intention is, that with this story, with Pat's story, that you can put yourself inside the frame and really see how you too can make the necessary changes that you are so desiring in your life. So I'm honored to introduce Pat to you. I don't want to give too much of her story because that's going to unfold during our interview today. But Pat was introduced to me from a dear friend, and as we've worked together on putting this together for you, it's really come clear that she is really ignited and lit up by the work that she does. And her heart is all about service and giving to her clients. She is an author. She's written 3 books, I believe, and I'll let Pat correct me on that. And it's all, in her mind, it's all about giving back. It's all about having meaning and purpose in the work that she does. And ultimately, I think that's the thing that gets us out of bed every morning. So without further ado, Pat, I'm going to turn this over to you so you can just share a little bit about who you are, but more importantly, let's dig into the nuggets of how you how you figured out that you needed to do a career change. So just a brief introduction about yourself, and then how did you figure out that you needed to be doing something different? What were the pain points that you were feeling? So take it on over, Pat.
Well, it's just such a pleasure to be talking to you, Danielle. Yeah, I mean, I'm now a hypnotherapist and an author, and I love public speaking as well. But for many years, for over 30 years, I worked in public service. I worked in local authority here in the UK, and then I was in the civil service. And for most of those 30 years, I had a good time, I was enjoying what I was doing. I was gradually moving up from doing technical work into doing more managerial work, and then into corporate work. And I got all the way up to being a director in a big government department. It's a bit of a way, hey, I did it. And then one day I was walking through a lovely London park. It was 8 o'clock in the morning. It was spring. The sun was shining. Big Ben was ringing in the background, and there were tears running down my face. And that's the moment when you know you really need to do something different. When you get to your mid-50s and you're crying on the way to work, something is going terribly wrong. And in that moment, I knew, I couldn't carry on. I had a boss who didn't appreciate what I did. He really undervalued me and what my talents really, because, I was managing 2 teams, one remotely. And one day he said to me, well, you're obviously good with people, but so what? And in that moment, I thought, this is somebody who just doesn't understand. And I was traveling and working 12 hours a day. I was getting home tired. I wasn't enjoying what I was doing. And it just seemed such a waste of everything that I'd spent my time trying to do. So that was the moment when I knew something had to change.
I can so relate to that. And I know a lot of the people that I work with will absolutely be able to relate to that, where you feel like you're giving your time. I think there also comes a point in time where you realize that time is limited, right? That you only have so many days and so many years in this lifetime. And it's, how do I want to be spending my time? Am I giving it in a way that feels good to me? It seems like there was a lot of tension in what you were doing. You started to realize that you were giving your time to something that really wasn't what you wanted to be doing. And
Absolutely.
you were feeling a lot of discomfort around that, right?
Yeah, because as I say, when you get to, I think this is common for a lot of women, that they enter their midlife and they think, why am I doing this? Why am I spending my time on this thing? I don't know how many years I've got left. My kids are growing up. Perhaps my partner is established in what they're doing. What am I doing? And, that's the time to think, well, what do I really want to be spending my time on? So, yeah, I think that's an important moment.
It absolutely is. And I'm so glad that you can speak so honestly about it, because I think a lot of people need to hear those feelings are actually okay.
Yeah.
I think we do a lot of self-judgment about, well, no, you just need to stick it out till retirement, just suck it up. And it's just a few years down the road. And for some people, they actually get this calling like in their 40s. I've even known some people in their 30s. And one of the things they tell me is it dawned on me, I can't do this until I retire. I will lose my mind if I try to wait that long, So it's not so much about when it happens for you. It's just the realization of, I can't keep doing this every day. This is eating me from the inside out. And so, Pat, would you mind sharing then, you could tell that you needed to do something else that became so loud to you that you couldn't ignore it. So then what? So then you have to figure out, okay, what is it that I really want to do? I tell people, what is it I really want to do when I grow up, And so how did you get clear on what is it that you actually wanted to be doing? What was that process?
So I have really strong values around learning, but not learning for my own sake. It's learning to share. As soon as I learn something, I've got to tell somebody else about it, So there was something about that. There was also, I'd been interested in complementary and alternative medicine and, different ways of reaching well-being for a long time. And one of my friends had introduced me to neuro-linguistic programming. She got into it back in the 1980s. And I'd been dabbling in learning something about it and practicing bits of it in my managerial work. Sometimes people would say to me, Pat, I don't know what it is about you, but I find myself doing stuff and I didn't really even want to do it. And if only you knew. So I was really interested in that. And even before I'd had my aha moment, I'd actually signed up to do an NLP and hypnotherapy course. I wasn't sure how I was going to do it because it was a weekend a month for 10 months. And, I was already working a lot of hours and working hard. But I thought this is something I really want to do, and perhaps in the future I might do something with it. So I'd already signed up to do that. And it was just that whole interest in developing people, which I already knew I was capable of, and using some of these skills that I'd already learned over years. We've all got these transferable skills, even though I'd never been an entrepreneur, I'd never run my own business. But I'd learned a lot about technology. I'd learned a lot about managing people. I'd learned to do presentations, put courses together. And as a civil servant, I'd done a lot of writing. And I'd also been in corporate communication. So I felt I had a lot of skills sitting there in the background that would help me. And then when that aha moment came, I was already signed up to do the course. I hadn't started it, but I went back home to my husband and I said, you know what? I'm coming out of all of this and this is what I'm going to do. And he was just really supportive about doing it. So yeah, I think get clear on what you really feel passionate about. And then just look at all the skills you've already got, all the resources you've already got, and what you need to get. How are you going to need to get new skills in order to do what you want to do? And is that something you're going to enjoy? This is all about, in the end, loving what you're doing. So make sure you're tapping into the thing that really fires you up.
That's great. And that's one of the first things that I work with people who are in this place of knowing that they want to do something else, but they're not quite sure what they want to do. That struggle with gaining clarity is there. One of the questions that I ask them is, what would you love?
Yeah.
And ultimately, as you ask yourself that question, and really what it comes down to is a part of you already knows the answer to that question, but you're not allowing yourself to hear it because it doesn't feel realistic, or you can't possibly see how you could make money at doing that, or how can you continue to provide for your household and transition into something that feels that different.
Mm.
Ultimately, what happens is when people figure out what they would love to do, for me, the case was I figured out what I would love to do, and then I realized how my experiences could actually, contribute to that. But at first I couldn't see that. It was like, I know what I want to, I would love to do this. Once I was willing to admit I would love to do this, then the second thing that came behind that was, oh, at first I thought the experiences that I had seemed irrelevant, but the further I go along, the more I realize actually they really contribute. Like you said, you realize you love putting together presentations and you love writing, and that all fit in with what you wanted to do, though some people may not see that at first. So, but I think you really click on to another aspect, which is pay attention to what, like you stayed curious, you like the NLP information you were curious about. You were really intrigued by that. And so you kind of followed that curiosity as well, which also led you to signing up for those courses and seeing, I could see myself doing this for the long term. So I think both of those elements, you're spot on, really do help people gain clarity. And
really interestingly, when I made that move, people who knew me, even people who knew me as a senior manager in the civil service, when they heard what I was going to do, they went, "Oh, I'm really not surprised." So it's like I was letting out that inner me, it was true to myself because nobody was surprised, even though I'd been doing technical and public service work, that I suddenly went and did what I was doing. So it must have been so obvious that this was who I was, really.
that is a great point. It's so true. I've seen the same thing as well. It's like you're finally letting the real you come out. We've been carrying on, and we don't realize it at the time, but when we're in a job that isn't necessarily the best fit for us, it doesn't mean it's a bad fit, but it's not the best fit. There's a part of us that we're having to hide, that real authentic part of ourselves we have to hide in order to go into that job every day. And over time that gets tiring, right? It's almost exhausting to do that. But once you allow yourself to really just be the natural you, that's when the real you gets to shine through. And there was elements of that all along, like people saw that all along in you, which is fantastic. I love that they recognized, oh yeah, even though you had this technical background, I can see you doing that. So that's fantastic as well. So thank you for sharing more about how you gained clarity. And you mentioned that is this the transition point when you spoke to your husband? For what I find is that most people that go through a career transition like this kind of have this moment in time where you really have to put your stake in the ground for what you want to do. And it feels really scary. It feels like this wall sometimes of like you're shivering and shaking in your boots because you have this moment where you've got to face head on that and tell people what you're going to do and what you want to do, and you're not sure if you're going to get the support. And so can you describe just that moment? Because a lot of times that is the make or break moment of whether people move into a new career or not. For me, it was letting go of my current career. That scared the bejesus out of me. And for each person, it's a different moment. But what do you feel was the strongest moment where you really just kind of had to face the storm and do it afraid and get out there and put a stake in the ground for what you wanted to do next?
Yeah, there were moments of such excitement, when you make that decision and you're kind of relieved and then you're excited, and then, like jumping into cold water as it comes up, you suddenly go, and it was a big moment for me because I was letting go of over 30 years of developing a career, and becoming what I became was part of my identity. To become a director in a big government department was a huge achievement for me, and I related to it. That was my identity, who I was. And to let go of that and to start again, because you're not starting as a director of a big company, you're starting right down at the bottom, beginning again. And so that was a wake up moment for me to really get in touch and think, but am I really tapping into what I really want to do now? And it was that belief that kept me through that. I have to say, the first Monday morning after I'd left my job right in the centre of London, all the busy stuff with my own team, people to do stuff for me. And I found myself on the Monday morning walking around a small local supermarket, buying my carrots for dinner in the evening. It was a real, oh, what have I done? But I thought, no, importance isn't what I was doing. What's significant is doing what you should be doing and getting on with it, developing that new way of living and working and finding out where it takes you. And that's really exciting. So, wait for that moment, but it's okay. You can hang on in there and you come out the other side of it, with a much better life, much more in balance with who you are.
Mm-hmm. Was there a particular moment where you were most scared, like for example, when you announced to your employer that you were leaving, or when you had to talk to your husband? Was there a moment where you really called into question whether you were going to move forward or not?
I think, when you say it out loud, because you make these decisions in your head and then you have to start telling people. And I was pretty sure of the support that I would get from my husband, because he knew how hard I was working and how miserable the situation was that I was in. And he is not somebody who expects someone to go through that, just to make money. That's just not who he is. So I was fairly confident of his support. Telling other people, because they expect you at 54, 55, if you're going to do something different, they think you're going to retire and sit in a chair and watch daytime TV and do a bit of voluntary work. And so when I announced to them that I was going to set up in business, that I was retraining, you see some doubt, and people start questioning, how are you going to do that? Is that really going to work for you? Is this just a bit of a hobby? And you have to keep that self-belief, and you have to seek out the people who will support you in your new life. The people who supported you in your old life are not going to be the same people who support you in your new life. The old life people are clinging on to what they're doing. They don't want you to disturb them. You need the new people who go, yeah, this could work. Yeah, what can I do for you? How can I help you? What do you need to learn? And those are the people that you really need to get in touch with in those wobbly moments.
Oh my gosh, you're so right. It's such an important point that you bring out, Pat, because I found the same thing as well, and the people that I've worked with, that as you start to do a new endeavor like this, there are plenty of people in your world who really doubt what you're doing. They flat out, some of them think you're crazy. I know members of my family, like, you're going to do what? When I told them I left my job, they're like, you're doing what? And so you really have to be at the point where you're moving forward with this. You really do have to have your stake in the ground of, I'm doing this thing, because you have to have the fortitude to get past all of that. You have to know that this is the right move to make. And then the other point that you bring is that you have to bring a support network around yourself of people who do believe in you, that do believe you can make this change, that know that this is the right fit for you, that are going to be your champions all along the way. That is so critical, because you're jumping into new territory. As you said, you left all that experience behind, and you are jumping into completely new territory. And frankly, that can be very scary for many individuals. So to have a support network of people around you that really believe in what you're doing, that really believe in you, that lift you up every time you feel like falling down, and encourage you to keep going every time you want to quit, that is so essential to making a transition like this. This is a big transition that we're talking about. It's a very important, life-changing transition. And it's happening for a reason. Frankly, I think you and I can both confess that it's an opportunity to really grow yourself, grow your confidence, push yourself, doing things that you've never done before, because this is all new territory. But at the end of it, it's just so rewarding. It's just alive making to be on your green growing edge of becoming something new and redefining who you want to be in life. So I love that you point out that support is what allows you to do that, to stay on your green growing edge and to continue to do new things and to continue to stretch yourself until that new thing that you want to do becomes more comfortable, right? And becomes your new identity. As you had mentioned, you were leaving your old identity behind and you were redefining and creating a new identity. So there's a gap in between those two. And the support network is what really helps you get from one side to the other. And that being said, you know, the aliveness piece is that's a big payoff and reward. But also it's like, as you start to see things come to life, the things that you imagine would happen as you transitioned into your new career, the things that you were going for, like more freedom, a job that you enjoy more, a job that has more meaning, all of those things are the payoff. So now tell us a little bit about where you are since you put your stake in the ground and made that change. What has opened up for you? What are the rewards that you're seeing as a result of doing this change?
I just love my new life. I mean, so this year alone, well, let me just go back. So yeah, I have written 3 books. Hot Women Call Solutions was the first one in 2012 because I decided to specialize into helping women experiencing midlife issues, particularly around menopause. And as soon as I got that book published up there on Google, I opened out from being somebody, a therapist working in a small room in a small village outside a small town to, hey, I'm on Amazon, and anybody in the world could be reading my book. And for me, that was a huge mindset changer. So since then, I wrote 2 other books. And this year, I went to India to speak at the Women's Economic Forum, where there were 1,000 women from all 109 countries in the world, which was fantastic. And to be on stage there and to be talking to women and encouraging them, that's just everything that I wanted. And I've written my 4th book, Hot Women Rock, which is about making these changes because what I love now, what I absolutely love is when women say to me, Pat, you're so inspiring. And I think, wow, I'm inspiring. I was never inspiring as a civil servant. So that is just amazing. And I work really hard, and I'm betting you do too, Danielle. I put in the hours, but I'm doing it for a purpose. I'm doing it for my purpose of helping women to change, of, just getting the word out there that it doesn't matter how old we are, we can still live our dreams. And that's really important to me. So I don't mind putting in the hours. I'll be working at the weekend because that's what I love doing. And that work-life balance is about, I'm enjoying my work, so I'm enjoying my life. And, I just encourage other women to get some of that. It's good.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the fact that you're bringing up that a lot of people talk about work-life balance, and I do absolutely believe it is so important because we can burn ourselves out in a very bad way. We actually it shows up physically for us. If you ignore the signs that things aren't right in your life, they end up cropping up and showing up in other ways, whether it's affecting our health or it's affecting our relationships. And I think all of us know that on some level. But once something as simple as, and I can say it's simple as changing your career to one that you actually enjoy doing, it's not simple making that change, but that fundamental concept of doing something different that you actually enjoy, that you look forward to doing every day, that shift in and of itself is transformational. In that, when you wake up in the morning, you don't dread going to work. You actually look forward to going to work. You look forward to, if you enjoy speaking or you want to get out there and teach. Most people, by the way, who are on the stage don't enjoy speaking. They love teaching and transforming other people's lives, but it took them a while to get to a space where they were comfortable enough to do that. So the people who want to really go out there and make a change in the world, that want to get their message out there about all the ways that they discovered about having a life that is much more enjoyable, much more fun, whether it's writing books, whether it's doing webinars, whatever that is. The thing is, if that's what lights you up inside, you can't wait to share that message out there, then you don't, like you said, you don't mind doing the work, because it's not work at that point. It's almost like just giving. It's just giving back.
Well, it's like breathing, when you're living with purpose, you're just breathing it, it's.
Yes. Yeah, it's like breathing. It's who you are. A lot of people that I work with, it's who you are. You love it. And it's certainly not easy, but that's what makes it fun, is because it really challenges us to grow ourselves, so we become confident enough where we'll go out there and do the very thing we need to do in order to get our message out there and to be able to serve people. So congratulations for making your mark on the world. It sounds like you're making some great strides in changing your career. I love that you got to travel to India and speak to 1,000 women. I mean, who gets to do that? But you got to do that. So, like you said, I get to be inspiring. People get to be inspired by me. How amazing does that feel? So congratulations, Pat, for taking the bold risk to listen to your heart and swing over to this new career that is not only a much better fit for you, and not only is something that you enjoy, but also is giving back to all the people in the world who really need it and are waiting to hear your message, your very important message. It's just, you're just living into that very part of yourself that has been seeking to be this all along, I think.
Yeah, it's just so much fun. And, when you meet lots of other women and other women entrepreneurs, and you're having these conversations about how you can keep growing and learning, I just love that. I love it. Just have to keep growing.
Yeah, you really do. Life gets stale and boring if you're not continuing. And people say, there's a quote that I tell people and they don't love it, but it's like, you're either growing or you're dying. You're either on the upward spiral of expanding, or you're on the downward spiral of really becoming less and less of who you are and what you want to be.
I totally believe that. I used to, when I was in my 50s, I did a master's in business administration with the Open University, and with that it's distance learning. And one of the tutors that I had was 82 years old, and he was still traveling regularly from the UK to Eastern Europe to tutor people there. And he said, you have to keep learning, you have to keep growing. That's what keeps us alive. And he was just living it totally. So that's what I live now.
That's fantastic, and it's so true. Ever a student, right? You just keep growing and evolving. So Pat, if people want to find you and they're interested in learning more about what you do, the NLP and the hypnotherapy, was it hypnotherapy or did you have another term for it? Cognitive?
It's called cognitive hypnotherapy. It's NLP combined with hypnotherapy and positive psychology. Yeah.
Okay.
So
if people want to learn more,
if they're interested in that, they can go to patduckworth.com, which is my hypnotherapy practice. If they're a midlife woman and they're, having menopause symptoms and they want any help with that, it's hotwomencoolsolutions.com. I've got all the cool solutions for those hot women.
That's fantastic. I love that. That is really good. I definitely recommend checking out Pat's website and learning more about what she does. If this is something that resonates with you, it's something that you think might be the solution to the questions that you've had or the problems that you're facing right now. And as well as for me, if you have been thinking about changing careers, deep in your heart, this is something that you need to do. You're not sure how to make that sort of change. Maybe you're not even clear on what you want to do. Well, all of those things are something that I help with through the processes that I've learned, I've been certified on. It's the very process that I've followed myself to switch careers as well. So if you are interested in learning more about that, you can go to www.danielleisaac.com. And on my website, you can learn more about me and a little bit more about the programs that I offer. And I invite you to go ahead and go do that. Pat, thank you so much for your time today. It is truly a pleasure to speak with you. I know people are going to walk away with some great golden nuggets about it's really, there's a part of us that knows that we need to make the change, but your story, I think, will inspire people to really consider seriously making a change and realizing they can, right? You can, and at any age you can. It's like it's never too late. You can
It's
do this.
never too late to start living the life that you should be living. Just get out there and do it. This has been such fun, Danielle. It's been a real pleasure.
Oh my gosh, me too, Pat. I love your story. Thank you for taking the time out to share it with people. We will be getting this out to the world for all those people that need to hear this very story and this inspiration. Meanwhile, I'm going to say goodbye to everybody who's been watching this with us. Thank you for joining us today. And I just really encourage you to take some action today, whether it's reaching out to Pat, if what she does is exactly what you've been looking for, or reaching out to me. I'm here to support you if making a career change is something you know you need to do and you're not sure how to get started. Let me help you get started. But go ahead and take some action right now so that while you're motivated, right, while you're ready to go ahead and take that action today and start the ball rolling, because that's the first step. Start the ball rolling. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. I hope you got a lot of value out of this, and I bid you adieu until the next video.